Vice President Mike Pence, joined by his wife and daughter-in-law, visited Pope Francis today at the Vatican.
Your Holiness, what a great honor.
During their visit, the Vice President extended President Donald Trump's warmest greetings. U.S. Ambassador to the Holy See, Callista Gingrich, and her husband, former U.S. Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich, were also there. After exchanging gifts and upon leaving, the Holy Father asked Vice President Pence to never forget to pray for him. After the Vice President's meeting with Pope Francis, he spoke exclusively to EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Alan Holdren. They spoke about today's meeting as well as Pence's personal campaign to protect life and the voice of the church in Venezuela.
Mr. Vice President, you spent about an hour with the Holy Father Pope Francis today. What did you discuss?
Well, it was a great privilege for me to spend time with Pope Francis and to be able to do so on a day that literally hundreds of thousands of Americans, including many Catholic Americans, are gathered on our National Mall in Washington, D.C., standing up for the right to life. Was a particular joy for me. And to hear his passion for the sanctity of life, to hear that American bishops were coming to him this month and speaking about their determination to see the church in the United States continue as it's always done, to stand without apology for the sanctity of human life, was a great privilege.
How can the U.S. government work together with the Holy See and the entire world, really, to promote this sanctity of life and work against abortion and also euthanasia?
Well, I believe that the church in the United States has been a bulwark of the right to life movement since Roe versus Wade was first adopted by our Supreme Court in 1973. In fact, on the National Mall today, among those hundreds of thousands of young people will be an enormous number of Catholic youth. They'll be waving the banners of their parishes, they'll be waving the banners of their Catholic schools. And I think continuing to educate young people about the unalienable right to life and the fact that every child is a gift from God has been the contribution the church has made to this cause. And the truth is that in the United States, we see more young people every day embracing the right to life. The numbers are growing. I know the church is playing a critical role in that. And I know we'll continue to until we reach that day that we restore the sanctity of life to the center of American law. And we'll carry that message throughout the world.
You've personally been involved with many marches for life now, even as Vice President. Why have you taken this on as your sort of personal campaign as well?
Well, for my wife and me to stand for life in the public square is a calling. It's a calling of our convictions. It's a calling of our faith. We think it's the most pressing moral issue of our time. And throughout our years in Congress and as a governor and now as Vice President, I've sought to stand for the right to life and to stand with all of those who cherish the unborn. But I have to tell you, I couldn't be more proud to be Vice President to the most pro-life president in American history. I mean, as we gather here in Rome today, President Trump will go to our National Mall and be the first American president to ever address the March for Life in person. And that's no real surprise when you see President Trump's record for life, whether it be ending the Mexico City policy, providing funding for organizations that promote or support abortion around the world, defunding the largest abortion provider in America, or appointing principled conservatives to our courts. One step after another, President Donald Trump has stood consistently for the right to life.
And going back to your meeting with Pope Francis today, did you speak about the tensions between the United States and Iran? He has spoken about this and has invited both parties to dialogue.
Today in my discussions with Pope Francis, we spoke about a number of issues, including the Pope's great concern for Christian and religious minorities in Iraq and across the Nineveh Plain. I told the Pope that we're very proud to work with many Catholic charities as we help to rebuild Christian communities that were so set upon through ISIS and terrorist action in the region in recent years. we've really partnered with the Knights of Columbus and other organizations across the region to make it possible for those Christian communities to come back and to have vibrant communities, not only Christian but Yazidi communities. And the Pope shared with me his great passion for religious persecution and for religious minorities across the Middle East. We also, though, talked about Venezuela. Pope Francis is a son of South America, and I wanted to better understand his insights about how we can together work as a global community to help restore democracy for the people of Venezuela. As I stand here today, the dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro has impoverished their country. Nearly 5 million people have fled Venezuela to neighboring countries. The poverty and deprivation there in what was once one of the wealthiest countries in our hemisphere is a tragedy. And I sought a Pope Francis counsel about how we can work more closely with him and with the church in Venezuela and across South and Central America to really continue to bring the kind of pressure to bear from the ground up that will make it possible for the people of Venezuela to have a new birth of freedom. The reality is that the National Assembly has named Juan Guaido now more than a year ago as the interim president, and democracy is waiting in the wings in Venezuela. But it will take all of us, and I trust the consistent and courageous voice of the church in Venezuela to see liberty restored.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.